My wife got pregnant by my best friend. Then my family expected me to raise their baby. 5 years later, they came begging for help. And by then, I owned the only thing that could save them. I had been married to Lauren for 4 years when my life split into two parts. Before the truth. And after it. Before the truth. I thought I was lucky. I had a good job as a project manager for a construction development company in Ohio. I had a modest house with a mortgage I could handle. I had a wife I loved. And I had a best friend named Marcus who had been in my life since high school. Marcus was the kind of man everyone liked. Funny. Confident. Always smiling. The guy who could walk into a room and make strangers feel like they had known him for years. My parents loved him. My younger sister called him basically family. Lauren used to say he was harmless. That was the word she used. Harmless. Looking back, that word makes me laugh now. Not because it is funny. Because it was the first lie I chose to believe. Marcus came over often. Too often, maybe. But I never questioned it. He helped me fix the deck. He came to barbecues. He watched games at our house on Sundays. When I traveled for work, he would sometimes check in on Lauren. That was what he told me. That was what she told me. And I believed them. Because trusting people is easy when you think they love you. The first thing that felt wrong happened on a Thursday night. I came home early from a site inspection that had been canceled because of heavy rain. I pulled into the driveway around 6:30. Lauren's car was there. So was Marcus's truck. At first, I smiled. I thought maybe he had stopped by to drop something off. Then I noticed the curtains were closed. Lauren never closed the curtains before sunset. I walked to the front door. Unlocked it. Stepped inside. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard laughter from upstairs. Lauren's laugh. Soft, breathless. The kind of laugh she used to give me when we were first married. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and listened. I wanted to call her name. I wanted to believe there was an explanation. But deep down, something inside me already knew. I walked upstairs. Slowly. One step. Then another. When I reached the bedroom door, it was half open. I pushed it the rest of the way. Lauren was sitting on the edge of our bed. Marcus was standing in front of her, buttoning his shirt. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Lauren's face went white. Marcus looked at me like he had just been caught stealing money from a cash register. I looked at him. Then I looked at my wife. Then I looked at the bed. Our bed. The bed I had paid for. The bed where I had held her when her father died. The bed where we had talked about having children. I did not yell. I did not hit him. I did not throw anything. I just asked one question. How long? Lauren started crying immediately. Marcus said, Ethan, man, listen. That was my name, Ethan. And hearing it from his mouth made my stomach turn. How long? I asked again. Lauren covered her face with both hands. Marcus looked at the floor. That told me everything. Finally, Lauren whispered, almost a year. Almost a year. Not one mistake. Not one drunk night. Not one moment of weakness. A year. A year of Sunday dinners. A year of birthday gifts. A year of him shaking my hand. A year of my wife kissing me goodbye in the morning, then texting my best friend before I even reached the office. I nodded. Just once. Then I turned around and walked downstairs. Lauren followed me. Ethan, please. Please, let me explain. I grabbed my keys from the counter. Marcus came down behind her. Don't do anything stupid, he said. That was the first time I almost lost control. I turned around slowly. He took one step back. Smart man, get out of my house, I said. He swallowed. Ethan. Get out. He left. Lauren stood in the kitchen, crying. I looked at her and felt something inside me close. Not break. Close. Like a door. When were you going to tell me? I asked. She wiped her face. I wanted to. I just didn't know how. You had a year. She looked down. Then she said the sentence that finished whatever was left of our marriage. I'm pregnant. The kitchen went silent. I stared at her. She did not need to say the rest. But she did. It might be his. Might. That word. That cowardly little word. Might. I laughed once. Not because I was amused. Because my body did not know what else to do. You don't know? She shook her head. I'm sorry. I grabbed my jacket. Where are you going? She asked. To see my family. She panicked. No. Ethan. Wait. Please don't tell them like this. I looked back at her. Like this? My voice was calm. That scared her more than yelling would have. You mean truthfully? I drove to my parents' house in complete silence. My mother, Patricia, had always been close to Lauren. She called her the daughter she never had, even though she actually did have a daughter. My sister, Megan, my father, Robert, was a retired bank manager. Practical, cold when he wanted to be. The kind of man who cared more about how things looked than how things felt. When I pulled into their driveway, Marcus's truck was already there. Of course it was. I sat in my car for a moment. Hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. Then I went inside without knocking. They were all in the living room. My parents. My sister. Marcus. And Lauren. She had beaten me there. She was sitting beside my mother, crying into a tissue. Marcus was standing near the fireplace with his arms crossed. Like he belonged there. Like I was the outsider. My mother stood up. Ethan, honey, calm down. That was the first thing she said. Not, are you okay? Not, what happened? Calm down. I looked at Lauren. Then at Marcus. Then at my parents. You already know. My father sighed. Lauren told us there was a situation. A situation? My voice stayed even. My wife has been sleeping with my best friend for almost a year. And now she's pregnant. That's not a situation. That's a betrayal. Marcus looked annoyed. Not ashamed. Annoyed. Look. I know I messed up. He said. I stared at him. You messed up? He shrugged. It happened, we didn't plan it. I turned to Lauren. Did you tell them the baby might be his? Nobody spoke. My mother looked away. My sister Megan started crying. My father rubbed his forehead. Then he said, we need to think about the child now. There it was. The shift. Away from what they did. Toward what I was supposed to do. I looked at him. The child that may not be mine? My mother stepped forward. Ethan. Please. I know you're hurt. But babies are innocent. I didn't say the baby wasn't innocent. Then don't punish the baby. I stared at her. By what? Refusing to raise another man's child? She flinched. My father's jaw tightened. You and Lauren are married. Legally, that child will be yours unless proven otherwise. I laughed again. This time, there was no humor in it. So that's your advice? Let my wife cheat with my best friend and raise his baby as mine? My sister whispered, maybe a DNA test later. No, my father interrupted. A DNA test will only make things worse. I looked at him. That sentence told me exactly where everyone stood. Marcus finally spoke. Ethan, I'm sorry, but I'm not ready to be a father. You've got the house, the steady job. You and Lauren were already trying anyway. The room went still. Even Lauren looked shocked that he had said it out loud. I stepped toward him. He backed up again. You want me to raise your baby? He swallowed. I'm saying the kid needs stability. My mother started crying. Ethan, maybe this is God's way of giving you the child you wanted. That was the moment. That was the exact moment I stopped being their son. Not legally. Not biologically. But emotionally, something ancient and final cut loose inside me. I looked at my mother. Then my father. Then my sister. Then my wife. Then the man I once called my brother in everything but blood. And I understood. They were not confused. They were not shocked. They were negotiating. They were trying to turn my pain into a solution for their problem. I nodded. Just once. You all want me to be the bigger man. My father exhaled, relieved. Yes. Exactly. I looked at Marcus. You want my wife. Then Lauren. You want my name on the birth certificate. Then my parents. And you want the family reputation protected. Nobody answered. They did not have to. I smiled. A small smile, cold. Okay. Lauren looked hopeful. My mother whispered, thank God. I turned toward the door. Ethan? Lauren called. I stopped. I said okay. I told them. Not that I forgive you. Then I left. That night, I did not sleep. Lauren came home around midnight. She found me at the kitchen table with my laptop open. She stood in the doorway. Can we talk? No. She looked down at the papers beside me. What are those? Bank records. Her face changed. Why? Because tomorrow morning, I'm meeting a lawyer. She started crying again. You said okay. I said okay because I understood. Understood what? That none of you deserve another word from me. Over the next 72 hours, I became a different man. Not louder. Not angrier. Sharper. First, I opened a new bank account at a bank Lauren did not use. Then I moved exactly half of the joint savings. Not more. Not less. Half. Clean. Legal. Then I printed every mortgage statement, every credit card bill, every tax return. I copied Lauren's messages with Marcus from her tablet. A year of proof. Hotel receipts. Photos. Late night texts. The worst one was from Marcus. He had written, he'll get over it. Ethan always does what people expect. I printed that one twice. The next morning, I met a divorce attorney named Helen Ward. She was in her late 50s, calm, direct, and expensive. I liked her immediately. After I explained everything, she leaned back and said, You need a paternity test as soon as the child is born. Until then, we protect your assets and establish adultery. I don't want the house, I said. She raised an eyebrow. You don't? No, I want out. People usually say that when they're emotional. I'm not emotional. She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. No, I can see that. By the third day, Lauren knew I was serious. She found me packing my clothes into 2 suitcases. Where are you going? A hotel. For how long? Until the divorce is filed. She grabbed my arm. I looked down at her hand. She let go. Ethan, please. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. You built a second relationship inside our marriage. She sobbed. I was lonely. That sentence almost made me laugh. Lonely, while living in my house. Eating food I bought. Sleeping beside me. Planning a future with me. You should have stayed lonely, I said. Her face crumpled. I zipped my suitcase. She whispered, what about the baby? I looked at her stomach. Then at her face. That question belongs to you and Marcus. I stayed at a hotel for 2 weeks. During that time, my phone became useless. My mother called 23 times. My father called 7. Megan sent long messages about family, forgiveness, and how anger would poison me. Marcus sent one text. Don't ruin everyone's life because your pride is hurt. I screenshotted it. Then blocked him. Lauren begged. Then blamed. Then begged again. I answered none of it. The divorce moved faster than anyone expected because I gave Lauren the house. People thought that was weakness. It wasn't. The house had become a graveyard. Every room had memories in it. Every wall had been touched by lies. I did not want it. I wanted liquidity. Freedom. Distance. When the paternity test came back months later, Helen called me herself. The child is not yours. I closed my eyes. Not because I was surprised. Because finally, the last chain snapped. The baby was Marcus's. A boy. They named him Noah. My mother sent me one message from a new number. He is still innocent. You are still his uncle in our hearts. I replied with 3 words. No, I'm not. Then I changed my number. I left Ohio 2 weeks later. No goodbye. No forwarding address. No final speech. Just gone. I moved to North Carolina. Raleigh first. Then Charlotte. I used my middle name professionally. Daniel. Ethan stayed on legal documents, but everyone in my new life knew me as Daniel Cross. I took a job with a struggling real estate development firm that specialized in distressed commercial properties. The company was a mess. Bad contracts. Lazy managers. Debt everywhere, but I understood broken structures. I had lived inside one. Within 18 months, I helped turn the company profitable. Within 3 years, I became a partner. Within 4 years, I bought out the founder. By year 5, Crossline Development Group owned commercial lots, apartment buildings, and several private lending contracts across 3 states. I learned something important in that business. People rarely lose everything in one dramatic moment. They lose everything slowly. One bad decision at a time. One excuse at a time. One person enabling them at a time. And then suddenly, the bill comes due. That was how I found Marcus again. Not through social media. Not through family. Through debt. My company had acquired a bundle of defaulted commercial loans from a small regional bank in Ohio. Most of them were ordinary. Failed restaurants. Unpaid construction invoices. Small business loans that had gone bad. Then I saw the name. Marcus Hale. I stared at the file for a long time. Marcus had opened a sports bar 3 years after I left. My father had co-signed the loan. My mother had used their home equity line to help with renovations. Lauren had signed a personal guarantee for equipment financing. The bar failed in 14 months. Then Marcus tried a food truck. Failed. Then a renovation business. Failed faster. Every failure had been paid for by someone else. My parents. Lauren. Even Megan. All of them had poured money into Marcus because he was Noah's father now. Because he was family. Because admitting he was selfish would mean admitting they had destroyed me for nothing. By the time the loan package reached my desk, Marcus owed more than $300,000. My parents' house was tied to part of it. Lauren's wages were being garnished. Megan had taken out a personal loan she could barely pay. And nobody knew I owned the debt. Not personally, of course. Through Crossline Recovery. A subsidiary. Clean. Legal. Documented. I could have ignored it. I could have sold the file to another collector. But I did not. I bought the entire debt package, then I waited. 3 months later, my assistant knocked on my office door. Daniel, there's a woman on line 2. She says her name is Patricia Cross. My mother. 5 years of silence. And now she had found me. I looked at the blinking light. Then picked up. Hello, Patricia. There was silence. Then a shaky breath. Ethan? That name belongs to someone you chose to lose. She started crying immediately. I didn't know if this number would work. Megan found your company online. We didn't know you were so. She stopped. Successful. That was the word she did not want to say. What do you want? I asked. It's your father. I said nothing. He had a stroke. Again? Nothing. He survived, but he can't work. We're losing the house. Everything is falling apart. I leaned back in my chair and looked through the glass wall of my office. Outside, my employees were reviewing plans for a new mixed-use development. People moved. Phones rang. Life continued. My mother whispered, "We need your help." There it was. Not love. Not regret. Need. What about Marcus? I asked. She cried harder. He left. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. What do you mean? He left. He disappeared 3 months ago. After the collection letters started. Lauren doesn't know where he is. Noah keeps asking for him. I felt nothing at the name Noah. Not anger. Not affection. Nothing. And Lauren? She's struggling. She works 2 jobs. And Megan? She's drowning too. Ethan, please. I know we made mistakes. Mistakes. They always used small words for large sins. I'm coming to Ohio next week for business, I said. My mother gasped. You are? Yes. Can we see you? I paused. Then said, I'll come by Saturday. Thank you. Thank you, Ethan. I'm not coming to save you. Silence. Then softly. Just come. Saturday afternoon, I drove past the town I had once called home. It looked smaller. Older. The grocery store where Lauren and I used to shop had a new sign. The diner where Marcus and I used to eat after football games was closed. My parents' neighborhood looked tired. Their house looked worse. Paint peeling. Grass overgrown. One shutter hanging crooked. I parked my black SUV in the driveway. The same driveway where Marcus had parked his truck the night my family chose him over me. My father opened the door. He looked 10 years older. One side of his face drooped slightly from the stroke. He held a cane in his right hand. For a second, I saw the man who taught me to ride a bike. Then I remembered the man who told me to raise Marcus's child. Ethan, he said. I stepped inside. My mother cried when she saw me. She reached for me. I stepped back. Her hands fell. Megan was in the living room, thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under her eyes. Lauren was there too. Of course she was. She stood near the kitchen doorway. Older. Tired. Still beautiful in a way that no longer touched me. Beside her stood a little boy with dark hair and Marcus's eyes. Noah. He looked at me curiously. Mom, who's that? Lauren swallowed. That's someone we used to know. Smart answer. My mother motioned toward the couch. Please sit. I'll stand. My father looked ashamed. That was new. Megan spoke first. We're sorry. I looked at her. For what? She blinked. For everything. That's vague. She looked down. My mother cried softly. Lauren stepped forward. Ethan, I know you hate me. I don't. That surprised her. I don't hate you. I said. Hate requires maintenance. I stopped maintaining anything connected to you 5 years ago. She flinched. My father gripped his cane. We handled it badly. I looked at him. You tried to make me raise my best friend's baby. His face tightened. Yes. The room went silent. It was the first honest thing he had said. My mother whispered. We thought we were protecting everyone. No. I said. You were protecting yourselves from shame. She covered her mouth. I set a leather folder on the coffee table. Everyone looked at it. My father's eyes narrowed. What is that? The reason I came. I opened the folder and removed the first document. Loan assignment. Then the second. Default notice. Then the third. Personal guarantee. Then the fourth. Foreclosure timeline. I placed them neatly on the table. One by one, my mother stared at the pages. Megan picked one up. Lauren's face went pale. My father whispered. Where did you get these? I looked at him. I own them. Nobody moved. Finally, Lauren said. What does that mean? It means the debt from Marcus's failed businesses was acquired by one of my companies. Your guarantees, your liens, your repayment schedules, all of it. My mother sat down hard. No. Yes. Megan's voice shook. You bought our debt? I bought a package of distress loans. Your names happen to be in it. My father stared at me. You expect us to believe that? I don't care what you believe. Lauren looked sick. So you can take the house? I can enforce the lien attached to the loan your husband signed. He wasn't my husband. No. He was just the man you destroyed your marriage for. Noah looked confused. Lauren pulled him closer. My mother started sobbing. Please don't do this in front of the child. I looked at her. Interesting. You didn't mind using a child as a weapon when you wanted me to raise him. She had no answer. My father lowered himself into a chair. What do you want? I smiled faintly. There it was again. The negotiation. Always the negotiation. What makes you think I want anything? Because you came here. I came here because 5 years ago, all of you told me consequences did not matter. I wanted to see if you still believed that. Megan cried quietly. I was wrong. I looked at her. You were cruel. She nodded. I know. That was also new. Lauren stepped forward. Ethan, I am sorry. Truly. Marcus left me too. He left Noah. He left all of us. I looked at her for a long moment. And that surprised you? Her eyes filled with tears. I thought he loved me. No. You thought betrayal would become romance if enough people approved it. She broke. My mother whispered, please, we'll lose the house. I turned to her. You mean the house where you asked me to sit down and be reasonable while my wife cried beside the man she cheated with? She sobbed harder. My father said, I was wrong. I looked at him. He swallowed. I was ashamed. I didn't want people to know. I thought if we kept the baby inside the family, somehow it would all settle down. The baby was never inside my family. Noah looked up at Lauren. Mom? Lauren knelt beside him. Go play in the kitchen, honey. He hesitated. Then left. When he was gone, I looked back at them. I want to make something very clear. I am not here to punish that boy. He did nothing wrong. Lauren closed her eyes, relieved. But he is not mine. He is not my nephew. He is not my responsibility. The relief vanished. I will not pay for him. I will not save him from Marcus's choices. I will not rewrite reality to make you feel better. My mother whispered, then why come? I picked up the foreclosure notice. Because I am giving you one legal option. My father looked up. What option? You have 30 days to sell the house voluntarily before my company begins foreclosure. My mother gasped. No. Please, if you sell voluntarily, you may keep whatever equity remains after repayment. If you force foreclosure, fees increase, the timeline tightens, and you walk away with less. Megan shook her head. That's not help. No. It's mercy. Lauren looked at me like she did not recognize me. Maybe she finally didn't. Good. My father's voice broke. You're really going to do this to your parents? I leaned forward. No. I am going to enforce documents you signed to fund the man you chose over your son. He closed his eyes. You were my son too. I stood still. For the first time that day, something sharp moved in my chest. Not grief. Not love. Memory. I said. The room went quiet. I was your son when I walked into this house destroyed. I was your son when I told you my wife had been sleeping with my best friend. I was your son when you looked me in the eye and told me to raise his baby. My mother cried into her hands. I was your son when I left. And none of you followed me. Nobody spoke. I closed the folder. So don't ask me to come back now because the man you protected ran away. Lauren whispered, I don't know how to fix this. I looked at her. You don't fix this. You live with it. Megan stood up. Ethan, please. I know I don't deserve anything. But Mom and Dad are old. Dad is sick. I know. And you can still help. I can. She looked hopeful. I let that hope live for 1 second. Then I said, but I won't. My mother made a sound like something inside her collapsed. My father stared at the floor. Lauren cried silently. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt the old version of myself standing behind me, the man who wanted them to love him. The man who would have paid. The man who would have forgiven. The man who would have raised another man's child just to keep a broken family from falling apart. I was grateful he was dead. I picked up my keys. My father looked at me. Do you forgive us? That question stopped me. I turned back. Forgiveness. They always wanted the reward without the repair. I forgive you. I said. My mother looked up. So did Lauren. So did Megan. Even my father's eyes filled with hope. I forgive you by leaving you exactly where your choices brought you. The hope died slowly. One face at a time. I walked to the door. Lauren followed me. Ethan. I stopped, but did not turn. I loved you. I looked back at her. No. You loved being forgiven. Then I opened the door. My mother called after me. Will we ever see you again? I looked at the broken porch. The dying grass. The house full of ghosts. No. Then I walked out. 32 days later, my parents sold the house. Not to me. Not directly. A young couple bought it. They had 2 children and a golden retriever. I saw the closing documents because my company released the lien after repayment. My parents moved into a small rental apartment outside town. Megan filed for bankruptcy 6 months later. Lauren moved with Noah to another state to live near her aunt. Marcus was eventually found in Florida, working cash jobs under the table and dodging creditors. That did not surprise me. Cowards do not become brave just because life gets harder. As for me, I went back to North Carolina. Back to my company. Back to the life I built from the ashes of the one they burned. 2 years after that visit, I married a woman named Claire. She is a structural engineer. Sharp. Kind. Honest in a way that feels peaceful instead of performative. On our wedding day, I did not invite anyone from my old life. No empty chairs. No sad music. No dramatic speeches. Just people who loved me without needing me to bleed for them. Sometimes, people ask if I regret not helping my parents more. I don't. Regret belongs to people who believe they owed something and failed to give it. I owed them nothing. They taught me that family could become a courtroom where the innocent person is sentenced to carry everyone else's shame. They taught me that silence can be survival. They taught me that walking away is not weakness. It is sometimes the only way to stay alive. My wife got pregnant by my best friend. My family expected me to raise their baby. 5 years later, they came begging for help. And I gave them the only thing they had ever given me. Consequences. Not revenge. Not cruelty. Consequences. And finally, peace.